There is one possibility that completely changes the way we see Juliette's story. What if Juliette isn't leading the rebellion at all? What if every choice she believes is her own? Every discovery, every escape, every impossible survival has been carefully anticipated by someone who has been watching from the beginning, not controlling her, not forcing her, simply placing the right clues in the right places until she walks exactly where they want her to go. Because the biggest mystery in Silo has never been whether the outside world is safe. The biggest mystery is why Juliette always seems to find exactly what she needs at exactly the right moment. Think about it. Every major breakthrough in her journey depends on information someone left behind. Someone hid files. Someone preserved relics. Someone built secret passages. Someone protected forbidden knowledge for decades. And somehow, Juliette keeps becoming the person who discovers all of it. Coincidence? Or evidence that someone has been preparing for her long before she even knew her own role? But here's what changes everything. Maybe Juliette isn't creating history. Maybe she's walking through a path that someone else designed years ago. And if that's true, then the rebellion isn't beginning. It's reaching the next stage of a plan that's been unfolding for generations. Look at what the show is actually telling us. Silo has always presented itself as a prison controlled by powerful leaders. Everyone believes the people at the top make every important decision. Bernard appears to know everything. Judicial watches everyone. The surveillance system sees every movement. Every citizen thinks control comes from above. But that assumption may be the greatest illusion the series has ever created. Because real power doesn't always come from the people giving orders. Sometimes, real power belongs to the people writing the story before anyone else even realizes they're inside one. This is the detail everyone missed. Whenever Juliette uncovers a secret, the information isn't random. It has structure. Each discovery naturally leads to another. One answer opens one specific door. That door leads to another mystery. That mystery introduces another hidden truth. It's almost as if someone expected one person to follow the trail from beginning to end. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens when clues are designed to be found. Now think back to Juliette before everything changed. She wasn't part of judicial. She wasn't part of political leadership. She wasn't trying to expose the system. She was simply an engineer. Someone whose entire life revolved around fixing machines, keeping generators running, understanding how systems work. At first, this seems completely unrelated to the larger conspiracy. But what if it's actually the reason she was always meant to become the next piece of the puzzle? Engineers don't just repair problems. They understand how systems fail. More importantly, they understand how hidden mechanisms operate beneath the surface. Juliette sees things other people ignore. A strange vibration, a damaged pipe, an unusual sound, a missing bolt. Most citizens look where they're told. Juliette looks underneath. That mindset makes her incredibly dangerous. Not because she's stronger than everyone else, because she's curious in exactly the right way. And maybe someone knew that long before she did. That's not the real mystery. The real mystery is why so many forbidden secrets survived in the first place. Think about the relics. Think about the hidden information. Think about every piece of evidence that somehow escaped destruction. If the founders or the people protecting the system wanted absolute control, why leave anything behind? Why allow maps to exist? Why preserve old technology? Why hide hard drives instead of destroying them forever? The official explanation is simple. Mistakes happen. People hide things. Objects survive. But after everything we've seen, that explanation feels too convenient. Especially because every surviving clue seems perfectly positioned to push Juliette one step further. Almost like checkpoints in a game. Every answer appears only after she's ready to understand it. Never too early. Never too late. Exactly when the journey requires it. That level of precision is terrifying. And this is where it gets darker. Imagine someone trying to change the future without ever revealing themselves. They couldn't openly fight the system. They couldn't announce the truth. They couldn't gather followers. Every rebellion would be crushed immediately. So what would they do instead? They would create a chain reaction. One clue leading to another. One generation passing information to the next. One person hiding something, another protecting it, another sacrificing themselves, until eventually, the perfect individual appears. Someone intelligent enough, curious enough, brave enough to finish the journey, not because they were chosen by prophecy, because they were prepared by history. Now, ask yourself one dangerous question. What if Juliette was never the first choice? What if many others tried to follow this hidden path, but failed? Suddenly the sacrifices throughout the series feel different. They stop looking like isolated tragedies. Instead, they begin to resemble failed attempts. People who carried the plan as far as they could before passing it to someone else. Not intentionally, but inevitably. Each failure preserved another clue. Each death protected another secret. Each discovery moved the invisible plan forward. Juliette may simply be the first person capable of reaching the end. And, if that's true, then someone predicted her arrival years before she ever climbed out of mechanical. But there's one moment that makes this theory even more disturbing. Because the deeper Juliette digs into the truth, the more it feels like the truth was waiting for her all along. And that's exactly where the next piece of this mystery begins. The deeper Juliette goes, the less her journey looks like an investigation. It starts looking like an inheritance. And that's a terrifying difference. An investigation means you're chasing the truth. An inheritance means the truth was always meant to reach you. But here's what changes everything. Every time Juliette believes she has outsmarted the system, she discovers another layer that was already waiting for her. That pattern repeats too many times to ignore. Look closely at the people who came before her. George wasn't just searching for answers. He was following clues that someone else had already uncovered. Allison wasn't simply becoming paranoid. She was assembling fragments of a puzzle that had existed long before she found it. Holston didn't walk outside because he suddenly lost hope. He walked outside because years of hidden information had slowly pushed him toward one impossible decision. Each of them believed they were making independent choices. But every one of them was standing on ground prepared by someone before them. Now Juliette enters the same path. Not at the beginning, near the end. This is the detail everyone missed. The show constantly reminds us that knowledge survives through people, not through institutions. The leaders erase records, but memories survive. They destroy books, but stories remain. They confiscate technology, but ideas refuse to disappear. That creates a hidden network far more powerful than judicial. A network without meetings, without names, without leaders. Just ordinary people preserving tiny pieces of the truth until the right person appears. That person is Juliette. But not because she is special. Because she is the first person able to connect every fragment into one complete picture. Look at what the show is actually telling us. Bernard spends enormous energy controlling information. He limits access. He monitors conversations. He hides historical records. He punishes curiosity. At first glance, that proves he controls everything. But think about it differently. If Bernard truly controlled everything, why is he always reacting? Every major move he makes happens after Juliette discovers something. He isn't leading the game. He's trying to contain it. That's a huge difference. Real control belongs to the person making everyone else react. And Bernard spends most of his time reacting. He races to close doors, destroy evidence, silence witnesses, rewrite events. Those are not the actions of someone completely in control. Those are the actions of someone afraid the hidden plan is advancing exactly as expected. And this is where it gets darker. Imagine Bernard isn't protecting the silo from Juliette. Imagine he's protecting Juliette from learning who truly designed the path she's walking. Because once she realizes someone has been guiding her all along, the entire conflict changes. The enemy is no longer one man. It's an invisible architect whose fingerprints are scattered across decades. Now think about the tunnels. Every hidden passage raises the same question. Who built them? The obvious answer is the founders. But the more interesting question is why they still matter. Hidden passages only have value if someone is expected to use them. Otherwise, they are wasted space. The same applies to forgotten rooms, secret vaults, hidden technology, old engineering systems. Every one of them quietly waits for discovery, almost like unopened chapters in a book. That isn't how random history works. Random history creates chaos. This creates progression. One discovery naturally unlocks another. One location explains the next. One mystery prepares Juliette for an even larger revelation. The path almost teaches her. First, she questions authority, then history, then the outside world, then the purpose of the silos themselves. Each lesson arrives in perfect order, exactly how a teacher would structure it, not how chance would. And here's something even stranger. Juliette rarely changes because someone convinces her. She changes because she observes. That matters. Observation cannot easily be manipulated with lies. It's based on evidence, patterns, mechanical reality. She trusts what she can verify, which makes her the perfect student for someone communicating across generations. They don't need to leave instructions. They only need to leave evidence. Juliette will do the rest.
Think about that.
The hidden planner never tells her what to believe. Instead, they create situations where the only logical conclusion becomes the truth. That's brilliant, because nobody, not even Bernard, can erase reality forever. You can destroy documents. You can silence witnesses. But eventually, reality begins leaking through the cracks. And Juliette has spent her entire life noticing cracks. Literal ones, mechanical ones, psychological ones, political ones. Her greatest strength isn't courage. It's pattern recognition. Maybe that's exactly why she was always meant to continue this journey. That reframes another important question. Was Juliette chosen? Or was she identified? Those sound similar, but they mean completely different things. Being chosen suggests destiny. Being identified suggests observation. Someone could have been watching generations of engineers, doctors, sheriffs, citizens, waiting for the one person whose personality matched the mission. Someone stubborn enough to refuse easy answers. Someone who trusts evidence over authority. Someone willing to lose everything for the truth. If that's the case, then Juliette isn't following instructions. She's following her own nature. The hidden architect simply understood who she already was. And that's the most dangerous form of manipulation, because it never feels like manipulation at all. It feels like freedom. But if every decision Juliette makes has quietly moved her toward a destination someone predicted decades earlier, then one terrifying possibility remains. What if the final truth waiting for her isn't about the outside world? It's about the person who designed the entire journey in the first place? And if that prediction is true, then season May 3rd reveal that Juliette has never been escaping the plan. She's been completing it. But if Juliette has been following someone else's plan, the biggest question is no longer who created the plan. The biggest question is, what is the plan actually trying to achieve? Because a plan this complex would not exist just to reveal a secret. A person does not spend generations hiding information, protecting knowledge, and sacrificing lives just to expose a simple lie. There has to be a larger purpose. And this is where everything changes. What if the silo was never designed only as a prison? What if it was designed as a test? A test to find out what kind of people survive when every answer is hidden from them. Because the most dangerous thing inside the silo was never the lack of freedom. It was the loss of curiosity. The system was built around one simple idea. If people stop asking questions, they become controllable. But if one person continues searching, the entire structure begins to collapse. And that person is Juliette. Look at Juliette's greatest conflict. Everyone around her tells her to accept the world as it is. The silo is dangerous. The rules exist for a reason. The past should stay buried. But Juliette has one problem. She cannot ignore something that doesn't make sense. That is why she is different. Other people see a broken machine and replace the part. Juliette asks why the machine broke. Other people see a missing record and move on. Juliette asks who removed it. Other people see a locked door. Juliette asks what is behind it. Her entire personality is built around uncovering hidden systems. And maybe that's exactly why she was the perfect person to continue this mission. Not because someone controlled her, because someone understood that eventually someone like her would appear. This also changes how we look at the older generation. People like George and Allison were not failures. They were pieces of a much bigger movement. Their discoveries mattered because they created pressure. Every secret they uncovered weakened the foundation. Every question they asked created another crack. And cracks are dangerous inside a system built on perfection. Because a perfect system depends on one thing: everyone believing the same story. The moment one person discovers the story is incomplete, the entire illusion starts breaking. Juliette is not destroying the silo. She is revealing that it was already broken. But here's where it gets even darker. What if the person behind this plan knew something Juliette doesn't? What if they knew the truth would not save everyone? What if the truth itself is dangerous? Because throughout the series, the silo doesn't only hide information. It hides consequences. The people in charge always act like knowledge is the threat. But maybe they are not completely wrong. Maybe there are things outside the silo that could destroy humanity. Maybe there are truths that require preparation. And maybe the hidden plan was never about opening the door. Maybe it was about creating the right person to decide when that door should open. That person is Juliette. And that makes her role much bigger than a rebel. She becomes the final decision maker. The person standing between humanity and whatever exists beyond the silo. Now think about Bernard. For a long time, Bernard appears to be the final obstacle. The man standing between Juliette and the truth. But what if Bernard is actually a guardian of a different kind? A person trapped by the same system he protects. Because Bernard knows something Juliette doesn't. He knows what happens when people learn too much too quickly. He knows how fragile order can be. But his mistake is believing that control is the only solution. Juliette represents the opposite idea. She believes people deserve the truth, even if the truth is painful. And that creates the central battle of silo. Not good versus evil. Not rebellion versus authority. But two different beliefs about humanity. Should people be protected from reality? Or should they have the freedom to face it? And this is the detail that changes everything. Juliette may believe she is fighting against the system. But what if she is actually the final piece the system was waiting for? Because maybe the silo was never built to last forever. Maybe it was built to survive until someone could finally break the cycle. Someone who could understand both sides. Someone who understands machines and people. Someone who knows how systems fail and how they can be rebuilt. That is why Juliette matters. She isn't just an engineer. She is someone who can repair a broken civilization. But there is one terrifying possibility left. What if the person who created this hidden path did not want Juliette to discover the truth? What if they wanted her to become the next person responsible for protecting the secret? Because maybe every generation thinks they are uncovering the truth, when in reality, they are being prepared to continue the same cycle. The founders created the silo. The next generation protected it. Another generation questioned it. And now Juliette arrives at the final crossroads. Break the system, or become its new guardian. That is the real mystery. Not whether Juliette will discover the truth. She probably will. The real question is what she will do when she finally understands why she was led there. Because the most dangerous discovery is not learning that someone had a plan. The most dangerous discovery is realizing the plan might have always needed you. And that leaves us with one final question. If Juliette is following someone else's path, who is waiting at the end of it? A forgotten founder? A hidden survivor? Someone outside the silo? Or something much bigger than a person? Because when Juliette finally reaches the end of this mystery, she may not find the person who created the plan. She may discover something far more disturbing. That the plan was never created to find Juliette. It was created because one day, Juliette would exist.